So what if you were to do numbers with Italian vowels? Let's try it. Ready? Eye contact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. I said seven. See, I've learned.
You're so good.
No, 7. 7, 1.
Hello and welcome to this episode of The Choir Guys, brought to you by Endeavor Music Publishing. My name is Blake Richter.
And I am Danny Gutierrez.
That was beautiful. That reminds me of the time you were Teacher of the Year for your district, and I was Teacher of the Year for my district. We were both
Teacher of the Year buddies.
Yeah.
TYOT.
We were both also Regional Teacher of the Year. You were State Teacher of the Year finalist. It's a pet peeve when your last name is pronounced incorrectly, correct?
Mm-hmm. No. I'm actually okay with it. I'm okay with it.
It's a pet peeve of his when it's pronounced incorrectly. And
Hold on. Why do you say that?
I'm just saying you like it to be pronounced properly.
Of course, but I'm okay with it. Okay, go ahead.
You coached the guy who was announcing your name beforehand of how to say it this is in Jeff City, and the guy that announced your name, he said, and next for State Teacher of the Year finalist is Daniel Gutierrez.
Yeah. So we went over that. Here's what happened. He was very self-conscious about it. And this is the state of Missouri, right? So you're not getting a lot of whatever my last name is. So he came up to me beforehand and he asked me, how do you say your last name? And he was very diligent and was very sweet that he was adamant about saying it right. And I tried, and then he kept wanting to get it right. So I was like, Gutierrez. And he's like, Gutierrez. And I'm like, we're moving mouths at the same time, like, Gutierrez. And he was like, Gutierrez. And then that's how it came out. I'm not a jerk about my last name. I understand. What I do now is if someone says, is this right, your last name, Gutierrez? And I'll say, yes, that was it. And then they'll go,
you nailed it.
That literally happened to me this past weekend. And I said, yeah, that's it. Is that really it? Yes. 100%. So,
but it was just my favorite because you had told me ahead of time that you had coached him, and then he gets up there and he's like, Daniel Gutierrez.
But I think he was proud about it too. He was like, Daniel Gutierrez. He probably winked at me as well.
Yeah, It was a mess. Our main topic that we're going to be covering this episode is going to be choir auditions. So it's that time of year where we're going to be starting to look at what our future ensembles will look like. So stick around and we will cover what that looks like in our classrooms. And before we start this episode, we wanted to just take a moment and thank you for watching our first episode. Thank you for liking our Facebook page, our Twitter, all the other stuff. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're still learning the ins and outs of podcasting. We don't know what we're doing, but we're having a good time with this.
Nope.
We're having a real good time with this, so thank you for having grace along the way. Even our first episode, we actually posted 2 different versions of it, because the first time we posted it, we were saying the town where we teach. Every time we'd say it, we'd bleep it out. But it just kept sounding like a cuss word all the time.
Well, because then I took it too far and I started saying sentences using the name of my town, and then and I did it purposely, just thinking it would be funny, but really it just looked like we had a lot of anger issues.
Yeah, so we will not be doing that anymore. So thank you for having grace and patience and forgiveness and understanding along the way. So additionally, we hope that you like and subscribe to all of our social media pages, in addition to our YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast channels. Since we're a new podcast, we can use all the help we can get. If you'd like to write a review on our Facebook page or rate our Spotify and Apple Podcast channels, we would really appreciate it.
So, how was your week, Blake?
Normal. How about you?
Go! We said we are. It was fine.
Cool. So our first segment today will be choir news. So what is new in choir news? I don't have much today, but I know we had our MMEA state conference about a month ago, and I'm still just like reminiscing on all of those amazing performances that we got to see. In addition to that, the TMEA conference happened, and as we all know, Texas does it right. They
big.
They do it
Everything's
big,
bigger in Texas.
and it's like, I mean, they have all the best recordings,
the best recordings, the biggest choirs.
Yeah.
What else
the
about
best
Texas?
clinicians,
The biggest clinicians.
the biggest jumbotrons. I was watching a bootleg recording on YouTube. Look them up. I mean, obviously they're amazing. I didn't realize. I knew they had incredible videography and everything for their all-state ensembles, but I didn't realize that they like have it on it's not a jumbotron, but it's on a big projector screen because the room is so big and there's so many people there.
Because they got money.
They got money. So, my choir news is go look up the TMEA videos.
Lots of bootleg recordings out there.
Yeah, Michael Barrett, he did the SATB group, and it was fantastic.
I heard they brought the house down.
They did, and like there's some videos online of that, so go check it out.
Good job, Michael Barrett.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, is that South African?
I don't know what
Michael
that was.
Barrett. I feel like Forrest Gump.
That was probably
Is it
the worst thing I've ever heard in my
is it
entire life.
Alabama or is it South African? That should be a segment. Good job, TMEA. Or is that more Cockney?
We're going to move on. So last year at TMEA, it came across my YouTube page. The Children Go Where I Send the treble choir did it. And I know your treble choir did it this year as well. And it's one of my favorite treble arrangements and songs. It's amazing. One of my favorite versions of that song that I've ever heard was the Lee Summit West treble group at our state conference. It was absolutely incredible. So shout out to Jacob Lowry, Amy Krinke, and Katie Fisher, because you guys brought the house down. It was amazing. And William Jewell. Man, I think you want to talk about William Jewell and our buddy Tony Maglione.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. The William Jewell concert choir they were amazing. The sound is beautiful, super, super resonant. The thing that I think distinguishes that choir from a lot of other choirs is just the overtone they're singing with, constantly in an amazing format of sound, the ring, the tuning. I mean, it's all there. And also it helps that Tony Maglione is a super charismatic director. He's a former comedian. Did you know this?
What?
Yeah, he's a former comedian. So he's funny. So you can say...
I know he's funny, but I didn't know he was a former comedian.
So one of the choral... I don't think it was a choral thing, but I've made it into choral wisdom that I take with me is that when you tell someone the truth, make them laugh or they will want to kill you. And if you think about it, if you tell someone the truth long enough and you never make them laugh, they actually will want to kill you. So I think that if you raise the rigor of singing, you have high expectations, clearly like Tony does, but you can make people laugh, they'll do it because they're able to handle it, I think that what they're doing is incredible. The tuning is immaculate. So many great things happening. So shout out to you, Tony. You're great. And the William Jewell Concert Choir.
So SWACTA is this week, and we're both going to be there. You'll be there starting Friday night? You're barely
going to be there super late. I'm just Friday night. I wake up. I'm paying the full conference fee because I have to. So my conference is Friday night. No, Friday morning. Wake up, travel on a bus, get there,
and it's what? I mean, in a car, it's 11 and a half hours, but on a bus with 40 some odd kids.
Try to get kids to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then get up the next morning, do our dress rehearsal, perform, pass out. Eventually,
wake up the next morning.
Yeah, wake up the next morning, back on a bus. So that's going to be my conference. I mean, we're super excited about doing it. I think a lot of cool things are going to happen, and we'll be able to see some decent stuff, especially pertaining to the honor choirs. The honor choirs are that Saturday. I know a lot of your students are participating in that, so I'm excited about seeing the honor choirs.
I'm going to roll in around Wednesday afternoon, so I'll be there a little bit longer just because we have, I think, 20 kids and we had 28 make it, but 20 kids that ended up going to Denver. So I'm just going to be there for them.
And I definitely want to be there for that. I want to support them for sure.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. So come say hi. Let's chat. And maybe you could be a guest on our podcast sometime.
Boom, boom, boom. Ooh, that'd be fun.
Do you have any choir news?
So I conducted at GMEA for one of their honor choirs this past week, actually. It's been a crazy week. And you might know this about me. I don't know, but I am I don't want to say I'm obsessed with another human because that sounds wrong.
You get obsessed with other humans sometimes.
I think I just get obsessed in general with stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to
Like
say. And you do too.
AI.
Yes.
Oh, I do. AI, you're obsessed with
I'm obsessed.
technology, Chat GPT, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. We
I
talked
like
about that last week.
Tone,
but also
choral stuff.
tone, and then trading cards, collecting
Yeah.
cards and selling them, and going to conventions and stuff like that.
That's a whole different ballgame.
I'd say international football.
Yes, I do like a soccer very much. Football.
But what? Who are you obsessed with?
Well, I think you know there's Jason Max Ferdinand.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully...
Was he there?
Well, so I knew he was... So he was on the clinician list.
Yeah.
He was one of the clinicians. I did the 7/8 tenor bass choir, the middle level choir. For the first time ever, GMA had a tenor bass middle level choir, which was awesome. Also, so I was looking at the clinician list, 11-12 mixed. Who's that guy? That guy's Jason Max Ferdinand. I'm like, ooh.
JMF.
So I knew that they were going to have the clinicians stay at the same hotel. So, and of course, I follow Jason Max Ferdinand.
You asked the front desk what room is he
it wasn't
in?
It wasn't that crazy. I was checking out his Instagram as I normally do just to see what the heck is going on. And I see he's on an airport and I'm getting giddy. And it was the morning of. I got in the day before, which is not convenient because it was Valentine's Day. But so the morning of, I see this picture and he's saying something to the effect that he's at the airport. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, wouldn't it be so crazy if when I went downstairs, lo and behold, Jason Max Ferdinand was waiting to check in to the hotel. So, of course, that's exactly what happened. And I saw him. I went up to him and I tried to
sweating.
Well, I tried to play it cool because I don't want to come across as like this guy that's really like hardcore into every single thing that he does, even though I am.
But he probably knows of you.
I mean, we've seen each other 3 times. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I don't know. Anyway, so I saw him and I came up to him and I said, "Hey, Jason Max Ferdinand." And that's just weird in and of itself. Like, why would you do all 3 names? I don't know if his friends call him, "Hey, Jason Max Ferdinand, let's play some basketball." I don't know if that's how it goes down, but
It's like if you go up to Elton John, you don't go, "Hey, what's up, Elton?" You go, "Hello, Sir Elton
Sir
John."
Elton John, exactly. So I go up to him and I'm like, "Hi, my name is Danny Gutierrez." After I said the Jason Max Ferdinand thing. And he's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Yeah, we've actually met 3 times before." And then I start listing the times that I've met him. In 2019, before the Aeolians tore it down, the day before the GIA like mixer thing, I met him there. And then I met him again when he came to the to do the Missouri All-State in 2021. 2021.
2020. Because I took a group that year. That was the year we got snowed out. We didn't get to go.
Oh, it was 2020.
So I remember that year very well.
Got it. And then in the present, I was meeting. He was like, "This is actually the 3rd time we've met." He's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." And he's looking at me, and I'm like, "You don't remember me, but that's okay." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm conducting a choir too." He's like, "Oh, that's great. Which choir?" I'm like, "The tenor bass, 7/8, 8th grade choir." He's like, "Oh, okay. Well, good luck." And then so I move along. The evening. The day's done. I'm tired. I'm working with junior hires all day. I'm tiptoeing across the lobby, and lo and behold, who do I see sitting at a table by himself? Jason Max Ferdinand. I didn't call him by his first.
Did you say JMF? What up?
No. That's funny though. So I saw him and I went, "Hey, how was your day?" And then he's talking about his day and everything. And I'm like, "Oh, that's great." So let's talk about resonance for a second. and then I started asking him questions about music and stuff. And I tried to do it tastefully. He just had an honor choir the entire day. I'm sure he's super tired and doesn't want to get into work mode again. But I tried to do it in a pleasant sort of way. Anyway, I was just geeking out about it. And he gave me his lowdown on how he approaches a lot of musical concepts, how he rebars measures and does things to create line and create melody and give it rhythmic integrity. Everything has a backbeat. Super fascinating stuff. It was like professional development of the year, just lo and behold, in the lobby of the Hyatt. In the lobby of the Hyatt. So that happened. So that was cool.
That is going to be the title of this podcast episode. In the lobby of the Hyatt.
Oh, no. Jason Max Ferdinand, if you ever see that, I want to apologize to you.
And also, please be on our podcast.
Yes.
Okay, it is time for a new segment for our podcast called Embrace It or
Erase It.
Woo! We love it. So we are going to talk about different things in the choir world, and we're going to say whether or not we're going to embrace it or erase it. So, for example, our first thing here, choir robes. Now, neither one of our choir programs wear robes anymore. We do have access to robes.
Dun, dun, dun.
My choir program used to have robes whenever I was a student in the choir program.
Do you want access to robes?
Well,
I think we know where this is going.
Me personally,
We're going to answer at the same time? Are we supposed to answer at the same time?
Let's do it. Let's do a countdown. Embrace it or erase it. 3, 2, 1.
Erase it.
However, I think it depends on the robe. Because, for example, at our state conference, shout out to Nathan Rudolph and Ryan Layton. I loved the purple and gold robes. They looked dope. There's this choir program in Australia called the Gondwana Children's Choirs. And
Gondwana. No, I'm just making that up. I'm just messing with you.
Guti J. Rez.
Because I could tell you were self-conscious about that. So
Gondwana.
I'm just messing with you.
So the Gondwana Children's Choirs, they wear a t-shirt and black pants, and we love their choirs. You introduced me to them. And so as a middle school, like we wear t-shirts with our choir logo, and each choir has a different color, which is what Gondwana does as well. And then you did that at your middle school that you used to teach at. So I kind of copied you. I tend to copy you.
It's kind of caught on, though. I would say I've seen so many middle school choirs do the black pants and the black shirt now with the emblem in the middle.
I see a lot that have black pants and like a nice polo with like an embroidered logo or something. Mm-hmm. I like that too.
Yeah.
But as far as robes, for the most part, it's a nobe for me. Robes, nobe. But again, those purple and gold robes at MMEA, Nathan and Ryan, I loved those robes. But other than that, they're kind of a hassle. I mean, you've had to deal with them because whenever you came to your school that you're currently at, it was robe culture. And they were nice robes, but
nice
you
robes.
used to wear them. And then COVID hit, and it was just like sharing robes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It was kind of a nice excuse to stop.
It was an opportunity.
Go into that.
Yeah, it was an opportunity to stop it. I don't like robes. I think it could work for certain choirs. I just don't like it for my choirs because how do you fully express with a piece of heavy clothing over your body that basically makes you neutral aside from your face? And of course, your face is a major part of expressing music. But for me, I'm all about full body singing. And it's hard to do that when everything is just kind of bland and constricted. Yeah. So I don't know. It's not for me, but I think it can work out in certain settings. Like I think it works out maybe in an honor choir setting.
Yeah, church setting too.
Yes. I'm totally about having students rock the robes for an honor choir. You get accepted to an honor choir, you go to it, wear a robe. And a lot of other people wear robes too. But
another episode title, Rock the Robe.
Rock the Robe, ? Good point. So for me, no. Erase it.
Cool. Got it. Next. Solfege versus numbers.
Solfege.
Let's go with numbers. Embrace it or erase it. 3.
Wait, we're going to say specifically for numbers?
Specifically for numbers, because I know what your answer is going to be and I know what my answer is going to be. 3, 2, 1.
Erase it.
So in high school and in junior high, I grew up, I went to school in the school district that we both teach at, and we did sight read on numbers, and it really, really, really did help me a lot. But then I went to college, and everything was solfege in all of our different classes, and even during choir rehearsals, it was all in solfege, and so I had to relearn everything. Which wasn't necessarily a bad thing because numbers really helped me with different things. But then, honestly, Danny kind of got me turned on to solfege as far as sight reading goes. Because, again, I was raised on sight reading with numbers. But you brought up a good point of why you like to do solfege. And I bet you're going to talk about it right now.
I can. So I think numbers can be effective for a few different reasons. I think numbers is great in terms of mental processing.
Yes.
If I am looking at a number and associating that with a step on a scale, That's really helpful. And
it helps with like piano as well.
I could see it helping with piano, helping with beginning students that are just learning how to read. I think that's wonderful. I think there are a lot of benefits to that.
Yeah.
My main thing is with solfege, I don't want to separate vocal pedagogy and sight reading. If the expectation is for a lot of my curriculum to be about music reading, I don't want to lose that time from a singing perspective. Yeah. I want them to engage with singing all the time, and I find it difficult to do so when you're using numbers, because we've been saying numbers since we were, before kindergarten. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sing a scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to get out of that habit. Yeah. So I like using technical Italianate vowels, and that's why I like solfege.
It's all about the vowels, and I mean, you're all about that tone.
All about those vowels.
And it's hard. Vowels. I mean, do numbers also have vowels? Yes.
Yes.
But I feel like the solfege vowels, I feel like the solfege vowels create an opportunity for more resonant singing.
So what if you were to do numbers with Italian vowels? Let's try it. Ready? Eye contact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. I said seven. See, I've learned.
You're so good.
No, 7. 7, 1.
Now, I'm going to argue that I think it could be important to do both. Like, I am thankful for my numbers training from high school and junior high because it did help me in so many different other areas. But like, as a choir director now, I really do prefer solfege just for what we were just talking about with the resonant singing and with vowel shapes and with tone and everything. But I think it is important for kids to know the different scale degrees as well.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is consistency, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that I love about our junior high program is that they do it consistently. So if you do something consistently, they're going to have a lot of results. And that's what I see. So I think whatever you do, just stick to it. We have our reasons for doing what we do, but just do it.
The last, embrace it or erase it. And I know it's been a couple weeks, but we filmed our last episode before the Super Bowl happened. And so we have to talk about this since we're from Missouri and since the Chiefs won. Go Chiefs.
How about the Chiefs?
Embrace it or erase it.
Kelsey's were in band. Did you know this?
Yeah, Jason Kelsey played saxophone. Also, if you haven't heard the Kelsey brothers sing on the Eagles Christmas album, this last one that just came out, it's pretty great.
Also, Travis Kelsey is dating the most famous musician on the planet.
Who?
I forget her name.
Yeah. Here is the embrace it or erase it. Travis Kelsey yelling and pushing Andy Reid at the Super Bowl.
Well, specifically pushing?
Just the whole altercation, the whole thing.
Got it.
I don't even know how I'm going to answer this. Ooh.
I know how I'm going to answer it, but there's some caveats. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Embrace it.
Oh,
we disagree.
Okay.
We disagree.
Let's have this conversation.
You posted about this on Facebook.
I did.
So you should talk about it.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say embrace it.
Okay, so here's...
Has your mind changed?
Well, here's... The way it's worded, Travis Kelsey pushing Andy Reid.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a problem with him putting his hands on Andy Reid. I don't think there's ever although I understand how this is in the heat of the moment too, especially when you're playing sports, you're going to get up in people's faces. There's just a level of respect that I feel like needs to be there for the coach. However, I want to say him getting in his face and yelling, I mean, overall, I'm not for it because it happened in a public forum. This stuff happens in a practice, though. I'm actually a lot more for it. Not necessarily for it, but accepting of it. I've been in many situations where I've been cursed out before. Like that's just has happened.
Students?
By a student in a private setting. Not necessarily cursed out, but student like just speaking to me in a more aggressive way and maybe cursing at me. It didn't happen. This hasn't happened like around other students, but if it happened in a private setting and they're just getting stuff off their chest and talking to me, I'm actually really reasonable with that. This is not, if you're one of my students, do not do that.
It's not a test.
Do not curse at me in a private setting. But I understand the heat of the moment. People are feeling passionate and stuff like this happens. Sometimes things just come out when you're feeling really adamant about something. So I'm not, I understand that element to things. And I know that in order to get stuff done, there has to be some conflict there too. That's my thoughts. Overall, though, I didn't like it. If that happened on TV, I would have a huge problem with that. If that happened in the most televised event in the United States of America, oh yeah, I would have a problem with that. What are your thoughts?
So at first, when I saw it, I was very much ticked off at Travis Kelce. I was like, what the heck did you just do? And like, I was watching the Super Bowl with my family, and like, I was very much raised to respect my coaches, respect my teachers and everything. And so I was pretty ticked off at Travis. And then I obsess over things, and I obsessed over the Chiefs this last year. That's one of the things that I obsess over now is NFL.
It's exciting to see you obsessing about sports like that. You've become a sports guy.
I mean,
somehow.
my wife begs to differ that it's exciting because I spend too much time late at night in bed just watching. Like even last night, I just typed in Patrick Mahomes highlight reel and just like watch.
You try to relive the season.
Yeah,
that's what I've been doing that for years. Like with the New York Knicks, because they're so terrible, I'll just watch like stuff from the 1994 playoff run. Like when I feel low. Go ahead.
Well, and Steph Curry highlights. There's like 30-minute long videos that I'll just watch.
I watched that video, the one that you were at, the Memphis game. I watched a clip of that. They posted that again on NBA.com, their social media stuff. They posted that clip where he's doing the shaking that guy, and then does a shimmy at the end when he gets down. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
and you were there in person.
I was giggling.
That's amazing.
So hard when I saw it. Anyway, so I obsess over the Chiefs, and especially after their Super Bowl win, I like watched all the post game interviews and everything. And through those post game interviews, Andy Reid was like, "I actually like that he does that stuff. He does it to me a lot." That shows me that he's passionate. That shows me that he really wants to win. It shows me like we have such a good relationship that he knows that he can do that, and that's kind of stuff fires me up. And I was like, what? Like I would be so ticked off if a kid came up to me and was screaming at me in the face.
He's an amazing coach. Andy Reid is an amazing coach,
and he has amazing relationships with his players. Yeah. And so the fact that he wasn't necessarily mad, he did say he went up to, I guess Travis came up to him right after that happened, and Travis apologized, was like, dude, I'm so sorry. And Andy Reid just said, there are cameras all over me, man. You got to be really careful. So, like, I think Andy Reid did communicate this was not okay to do on this public platform, but also I respect you, and I know that you're passionate. I know that this just means you want to win, which is great. So I'm like halfway in between embracing it and erasing it. Like, obviously, don't be disrespectful to your coaches. Don't be disrespectful to anyone in life. But also, I've never played in the Super Bowl. And I don't know how I would be if, Isaiah Pacheco just fumbled the ball right at the goal line, and I was open for something. Yeah. I was just ticked off that I didn't get the ball. And then he started getting the ball the second half a bunch, and things started happening.
And this is just like levels of competition that's hard to even wrap your mind around. But you kind of, some musicians, you can see that, right? When, for instance, you have those elite opera singers. So like Kathleen Battle, she is a super high level opera singer. She had some interesting processes beforehand, and I'm not justifying anything that she's done, but at that level of excellence, there's some things that come with that. There's some baggage that comes, so maybe that's part of it, but it is what it is. It happened.
Nice. For our next episode, we want to introduce a new segment called the Blind Listening segment. And in this segment, what are we going to do, Mr. G?
We want clips of your choir singing. They will be kind of listened to anonymously, and simply we're going to give feedback on what we hear. I think it's interesting. One of the things that I feel like makes us special is our ability to listen and dissect different sounds that a choir is making. So if you don't mind sending in a video, audio, just something, video is not necessary, audio at least, you can send in a video and we'll just listen to it, and having us give feedback about that choir, that would be a great opportunity for the listeners to hear our knowledge about choirs and what we would do differently or what we enjoy that a choir is doing, and be a great opportunity to have your choir get feedback from us.
Yeah, we would love to celebrate good choral singing as well. So like if there is a recording that you are super proud of that you want to send us. We would love to celebrate it and just talk about all the good things, because I think that's the best thing that we can do as choral professionals is just listen
Absolutely.
to other choirs and just learn from each other and also celebrate each other, because there are so many incredible choral directors, especially in our area. If you want to show off your choirs, send them in.
Yeah.
Or
give
if
our reaction.
Or if you're like, I really want to know what they think of this because I don't know how I feel about this. Maybe I want to submit it for ACDA. Maybe I want to submit it for a state conference recording. Send it in, and we don't know everything, but like you can take our opinions with a grain of salt, but it'd be fun for us to be able to react to it. So you can email those videos or those recordings to thechoirguyspod@gmail.com, or you can private message them to us on any of our social media platforms, and we cannot wait to hear your groups. Now it's time to shout out our first sponsor, Endeavor Music Publishing. Endeavor is dedicated to publishing the best in new and innovative choral music, and to the idea that composers should earn the majority of the sale of their music.
That's the great thing about this company. Royalties for Endeavor composers are over 5 times the industry standard, so you can trust that your purchase supports the artist who created it.
Endeavor is currently seeking out emerging talent and established composers. So if you are interested in getting one of your pieces published, make sure to visit their submissions page on their website.
Before finalizing the rep for your next concert, make sure to go to endeavormusicpublishing.com and peruse their new titles.
This week, I'd like to shout out Legatum by Ryan Main. I might be a little biased since I wrote the text of this piece, and it was commissioned by my choir, but this will forever be one of my favorite pieces of all time. It allows your choir students to embrace their inner rabid squirrel personalities as they sing the intense rhythms and the Latin text. I performed both the SSA and the SATB voicings with various ensembles, and all students have thoroughly enjoyed this piece. All of Endeavor's pieces offer various voicings to meet the needs of all of your ensembles. This is another reason why we choose to program Endeavor pieces regularly. Let's listen to a portion of Legatum.
Additionally, I'd like to shout out Inveniam Viam, another Latin text. It translates to find a way or make one. So a text that students can relate to. It's a wonderfully accessible SATB arrangement for an intermediate or advanced choir. That is the voicing I am always looking for, intermediate SATB. It's hard to find something with good range. It's hard to find something that's readable. This you will find to be a piece that the kids can read first, second time through, have a lot of success, and it sounds complicated even though it's not, and it's really awesome. Thanks again to Endeavor Music Publishing for sponsoring today's episode. Take a listen to Inveniam Viam.
So we have now reached our main portion of the episode, talking about choir auditions. So in our district, kids start choir in like 3rd grade. They have the opportunity to start in a 3rd and 4th grade choir, and those choirs meet like before school. I think it's basically just they like sign up, and it's just like a first introduction to choir, which is great. 5th and 6th grade intermediate level, they do auditions for their honor groups, but a lot of it is like, we want you to be in choir, and as long as you have good behavior and you can match pitch, you're going to be in choir. But when it comes to Junior high, we'll talk about what I do at the junior high and then what he does at the high school with our 7 through 12 program. At the junior high, we have 6 different ensembles. 3 of them are non-audition and 3 of them are varsity groups or audition groups. And so what we just got done doing just a couple weeks ago is my colleague and I, Lauren Voman, we went down to the intermediate choir, or we went down to the intermediate schools, and we just had kids sing Happy Birthday. Happy Birthday can tell you so much about a kid's voice. It can tell you if they can match pitch, first of all. Second of all, there's that octave jump on the Happy Birthday. That tells you a lot about a kid's voice. And we had like 324 kids audition for choir. So it's a fast way to get those auditions done as well.
324 audition for choir?
Yeah.
And that's just 6th graders?
No.
Okay.
That was everybody.
That was everyone. That's a lot of kids auditioning for choir.
Yeah. So we had...
And that's not including kids that don't audition for choir.
Correct. So if all 324 sign up that auditioned, plus, another, I don't know how many that didn't audition, will sign up, it should be an interesting
a lot of people.
Year next year.
A lot of people.
But they sing Happy Birthday. It's a quick, easy way to tell you a lot about their voice in a short amount of time.
And this doesn't need to be complicated. You're just, at this point, you just want to get kids in the door. You want to give them that chance. If they want to audition for something, everyone knows Happy Birthday. Yeah. We've all done it in different sorts of ways. The question is, who does it the right way?
And, a lot of our intermediate teachers, they do a great job. They know that we're coming over there to do Happy Birthday, so they will rehearse Happy Birthday during class. Because sometimes they don't know what to sing it to. They're like, who do I sing Happy Birthday to? And sometimes we'll find a soda can on the floor. So I'll be like, Happy Birthday, dear soda can. And they think that's funny. Or they can sing Happy Birthday, Happy Birthday.
Yeah, that works too.
That's what a lot of kids do. And that's what the intermediate teachers teach them to do.
So your placement is just on the Happy Birthday thing? How you determine?
Literally, I used to do more than that, and then we started running out of time. And so just to get those auditions done, because we have to go, we do it during 6th grade elective time or enrichment time. So we go to the art class, we go to the library, we go to music class, we go to media class, and we go to PE. And we make the announcement, and we have 50 minutes to go to all 5 of those classes and pull out kids.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So it has to go so fast because we don't like to take up a ton of instructional time because they're allowing us to come in and take their kids out. So we like to do whatever they want us to do.
So what are the standards? What type of singing would get you into a certain choir?
Yeah, so to get into a varsity group, we're looking for that resonant tone. We're also looking to make sure that a lot of kids, they'll come in, they'll be like, Happy Birthday to you. 6th graders.
So what would you do with that?
I would put them in a non-audition group. So that way they might be a great singer, but that way they can learn the basics of okay, in choir, this is how we sing.
Okay.
And also that octave jump. If they don't hit that octave jump, they're probably not going to make it into a varsity group. Because that octave jump, again, that tells you so much about a kid. So I'm looking for the open space, the resonance, and the octave jump. And if they can do all those things, they might be in a varsity group. Now, this year we've had the good issue of having a lot of our current 7th graders come back, and a lot of our current 7th graders are insanely awesome. Mm-hmm. And so our top group, it's the varsity singers. It's an SATB group. All of the sopranos and altos are going to be 8th graders. And in the past, we've had 7th and 8th graders. Sure. But this year, we couldn't take any 7th grade girls. Now, with boys, we need to just take some 7th grade boys to be in that group because we need some high tenors. And also, just we need some numbers in there. We do have a lot of guys. And then we have a varsity treble choir. We were going to try to narrow that down to 60 singers. It's going to be 85 next year. Lauren Voman, my co-teacher, she was like, yeah, let's try to get it down to 60 because why do we have so many this year? And then she listened to all the treble voices. She's like, that's why you have so many because our intermediate teachers, they train them so well and they're so good. And then our varsity tenor bass choir, currently that's what we co-teach. And currently we have 37 or so, but next year it'll have about 45, which will be good. And then we have our non-audition tenor bass choir, which as of right now will have about 40 or so, but those are kids that auditioned that didn't make it into the top groups. So there's going to be other kids that will be in there. And then we have 2 non-audition treble choirs that will be split up, and it'll probably be about 60 girls in each of those. So there were only like 19 seventh grade girls that made it into a varsity group this year, and they made it into the varsity treble group. And it was really, really, really difficult to make those decisions. But that's a lot of what you guys do at the high school is you allow them the opportunity to audition for these chamber men's and women's ensembles that you have that you're going to talk about, the Crimson Chorale and the Ato Singers. But it's really, really hard to get into it. So that's kind of what we tried to do this year for us. Like sometimes we make it too easy to make it into a varsity group at the junior high. But since you guys are making it harder, I was like, well, let's be vertically aligned and let's make it that expectation that you start in these non-audition groups. You learn the ways of sight singing in the junior high choir classroom. You learn how we teach, and then you get to be in those varsity groups.
Yeah, choir placement is very complicated. And I always refer to it as a very the process is a very dark time because it's navigating a lot of things. It's not just singing that you're navigating. It's also social perceptions of the almost like the social cloud you have tied to certain choirs. And that's complicated. So I changed the choir makeup of our choir program in terms of the high school choirs. Normally it was, so on, I guess the top of the pyramid would be like the chamber singers. And then next it was this large concert choir of almost 100 people. And I realized I didn't like that. It was like you had this very high level mixed choir and you had a very good
still
mixed
high level
choir, still high level, a very good mixed choir, but it seemed more like the training program for that high choir that was very, very, very hard to get into. And I wanted to make something more unique in that case. So we divided, instead of that, we got rid of the concert choir and instead made two different choirs, a high level tenor bass choir and a high level treble choir. That kind of more functions closer to, I guess, a chamber level ensemble. But what I noticed is that with the concert choir, when they were together, they sang well. Whenever we separated them, they just sounded like gods and goddesses. The sound was so good, efficiency was so high, and I'm like, why don't we just make this into a system and make them separate all the time? So now we have these two different ensembles instead of this large concert choir, and the success rate has been way higher. They've been able, in this short amount of time that we've had these two choirs, to achieve what that large concert choir was never able to achieve in terms of rigor of music, in terms of sound, just sound in general, in terms of intonation. So everything has literally improved by having these two different choirs, right?
And there's a lot of research out there about the benefits of gender-specific choirs.
Yes.
And so that's another thing. I mean, obviously you've had gender-specific choirs at the high school, but now you have double the amount of gender-specific choirs, which has been good.
Yeah. So I'm happy about that change. And so right now at my high school, if you don't know how to sing, you just are like, man, I want to join a choir. There is a choir opportunity available for you. It's the chorus one. It's a mixed choir class. It's not ideal to have a mixed choir. I'd rather have a tenor bass or a treble choir class, but it just doesn't work out logistically. After that, there's a course called Advanced Treble Choir and Advanced Tenor Bass Choir, and that's open to anyone that's recommended by the junior high, or it's open to anyone that comes in and shows like pitch proficiency and is okay with going through a certain audition process just to see if they're proficient with pitch. That's the easiest audition ever.
What do you do for that?
I'll just like make a sound, see if they can do it on pitch. If they can do that on pitch, that's great, because then we can take that and expand on it. Yeah. I don't need to hear even like happy birthday would be nice, but I'm not even requiring that. It's just, and I have a little more time than you do. You need a very specific format because you don't have time. You're trying to bust out like 100 auditions.
You're meeting the kids.
30 seconds each. Let's go. Yeah, that's very complicated.
Yeah.
Normally, in this case, it'll be someone. I'll say, hey, can I meet you after school? I'll meet them after school. Then there's a little more time. Have them go through stuff. They can match pitch proficiently. Then that's good enough to be in that choir, so long as I feel like they're not going to be a behavioral distraction.
Is it kind of like the boop test?
Yeah, that's what I used to do. When I used to work exclusively with junior high, I would say, all right, do this, boop. And if they could do boop on pitch, boom, you're in. Whatever choir you want to be in, you're in. So that's what we have now, and then after that are those choirs, and on top of that we have the contemporary a cappella choir, which is more complicated because it's smaller, and a lot of people want to be part of that. But that's basically how we run the formats of the choirs at this point.
So that's kind of how we do auditions in our district. And if you have any questions about why we do certain things or how we have our program structured, feel free to email us and reach out to us. We would love to discuss that with you, and we'd love to help you out with that. But whatever, and if you have other things that you do as a choir director for your program, if you have a different way of auditioning, reach out to us and we'll share it out, because we love learning from others, and maybe there's stuff that we're doing that is ineffective and that we could do better. So reach out to us on that as well, and we will continue the discussion of choir auditions. Now it's time for our next segment, Choir Room Happenings. Danny, you know what? The dab is back. We have brought the dab back. Is it cool? No. Have we pretended like it's cool? Yes.
No, it's cool.
So in our first hour classroom, we have brought it back big time. Danny kind of started this just because we're big old nerds and we like to dab every once in a while because we like kids making fun of us. But then they fully embraced it, and we gave them lots of points, which we'll talk about later with one of our different hacks. But do you want to talk about, there's this one moment last week where we just started giving out lots of points if kids like fully committed to the dab. And there's
a few different elements.
There's a few different elements, but there's one moment where I was just like rolling on the ground, wheeze laughing because it was so good. So go into like what you were saying in front of the class to bring back the dab.
So we're not beyond points, just being honest with you. I know some people are like, points kill intrinsic motivation. Whatever, we're doing it. So we give points, and now the problem is inflation. So we're not just giving points, we're giving like 10 million points. And one class, I think, I was looking at the board the other day, had billions of points involved.
Oh yeah, I started giving out billions this week.
That's a lot.
We'll talk about
where
this.
Do you go from billions?
Yeah, we'll talk about this during choir hack. Yeah. Why we give out points and kind of that system, but so refer to that here in a second.
Once inflation gets crazy, I start being passive aggressive, and I'll be like, 1 million points, 1 million points, tenors, 2 points.
Yes.
And next section. So we're giving out points, and I made this crazy rule. I said, just for another level of engagement and goofiness, and if it's done in a way that's not chaotic, I said, if you receive, not just get the points, but if you receive the points, well, you get additional points. So, and I said, to receive the points, you have to dab after you get points. They're like, this is like 2017. I'm like, yeah, I know, and you're going to like it.
It's a history lesson.
It's a history lesson. So they'll get some points. I'll say like, tenor ones, 10 million points. And then they'll go, and then one kid goes.
But they have to go deep into the dab, like deep into the elbow.
Yes, exactly.
And I'll sniff the armpit.
And I'll say, you received it. Give them an additional 10 million points. So now it's like a system. You have entire sections going, and if they do it well, yeah, I have no problem giving them extra points.
And then like days went by, and like we didn't talk about that again, but then they just started dabbing whenever they receive points. Like we thought that they would forget about it. They did not forget about it.
They keep doing it.
My favorite, the moment I started wheeze laughing was there's this kid who's like one of the most naturally talented kids we've ever taught. He sings by himself. We point him out. We ask him to sing a section of the piece, and he sings it. And Danny just goes, "You go to the corner and think about how good you've been." Like sometimes we put kids in timeout to recognize them for being so good. We'll say, "Go to the corner and just think about how good you've been." And so he's on like the top riser, and he just stands up like a militant robot, and then he goes to the edge of the riser. He jumps off and he hits the dab as hard as he can, and I just died.
Yeah, he owned it big time.
But he just kept the dab in the corner the whole time, and he was just standing there just waiting for him to be done in the corner.
Yeah, and that's why it's so fun teaching with Blake, because we just come up with these moment-to-moment things, kind of just chaos. We're always creating this very organized chaos and anarchy that's happening. And these little things, it seems stupid, like go in the corner and think about what you've done. That brings a lot of attention to the student, brings in a weird way. People are thinking about it, and they're thinking, wow,
I want to go to the corner.
Yeah, he did something well. So they go in and then he does the dab. So the whole like spiel makes it so that it becomes a cool thing. So these little adjustments come through.
Yeah, and like simply if you want to like have them work on posture, we sometimes will have them break out a book and they just put it on their head. And if they're the last ones with a book on their head at the end of the warm up, they get 10 million points or whatever. And so they're just standing there with books on their heads. It's way more entertaining for us than it is for them, just to stare at a sea of boys with just books on top of their heads, just staring at you like nothing's weird. It's pretty great. Another thing in our classroom, kids started bringing ducks a few years ago. A kid brought me a duck one time, and I decided to create this whole ceremony of putting it above the projector screen. And so like I turned on some dramatic music, I got on a stool and I put it up there, and it was all dramatic. So then kids were like, well, I want that to happen again. So they started bringing more and more ducks. So we have like probably hundreds of ducks in our classroom.
Really beautiful looking ducks, like glittery, pink, green,
There's one that's Ross from Friends, but it's in duck form. Like it's ridiculous. Nice. So like kids think I just love ducks, and they think I drive a Jeep because apparently that's a Jeep thing to put all the ducks on the dashboard. Oh. I do not drive a Jeep. I don't even really like ducks. It's just they're like all over. I'm not against Jeeps. Okay. I'll never buy one.
There's some Jeep people I hear.
No, I'm not a Jeep person. But I don't discriminate. So my co-teacher, Lauren, she decided, okay, now that I'm teaching with you during the duck ceremony, I need to do something as well. And so she got bubbles, and she started blowing bubbles while I put the duck on top of the screen. Oh, that's nice. And then a kid bought us a bubble gun. And so two kids brought us bubble guns. And so now we haven't fully used it yet, but I'm so ready for the next time a duck gets brought in, because Lauren's going to have 2 different bubble guns and just be like shooting it everywhere.
Should you bring in a bubble gun to the podcast so we can just at one point just be like, nah.
Yeah, just shoot it at the camera?
That'd be super fun.
Maybe. Cute. We'll think about it. This last week, we also had our solo night, and it went super well. We had 135 kids audition to be a part of the solo night, which was insane.
Whoa, dang.
A few years ago, one of my co-teachers, who's actually a band director, shout out to Erica O'Brien. She's a band director in our district. She used to co-teach one class with me, and she had the idea of having everybody in our choir program learn a solo. And they would do it in groups, and then they would have to perform it either by submitting a video, singing it in front of the whole class, or singing it in front of just one of us, or singing it at our solo night. If you sing it at our solo night, you automatically get 100% on the assignment, and it's worth 200 points. So that made a lot of kids want to do it. So 135 out of the 330 kids wanted to, they auditioned to be a part of the solo night, and we only had 75 spots. So that was just awesome in and of itself to hear all those people audition. It was a super awesome night. We had great judges and great feedback from the kids, or for the kids. So that was great. Also, this last week, we had a special guest speaker at our school. His name is Sam Dema. During his speech, he wrote a poem, and he said the poem, and after every line, he had our kids go, And I was like, this is going to be inappropriate. But after every line, he asked everybody to go, And so they did. After our solo night. Did they make it
inappropriate?
No. Well, okay. I mean, somebody probably did.
Okay.
But after our solo night, as you can imagine, we get worn out. We're tired. We decided to watch choir on Disney Plus, because I know you told me about that.
Yes.
So we started watching that just for one class period, because I was like, I need a break. And Danny wasn't there that day because he wasn't feeling good. And I was like, yeah, we're going to watch choir on Disney Plus. And we watched it all day. But for some reason, Disney Plus had ads that day. So during the ads, kids started talking, and I was like, how do I get them to stop talking? And so I said, in honor of our guest speaker, Sam Dema, after every sentence in the ad, do and the first one was like a Domino's ad, so it was great because it was like The second ad was an insurance ad, and there's this little girl who had just gotten in a car accident, and she's bawling her eyes out to her parents. And so after every sentence, kids were going and this little girl is bawling, and her car's engulfed in flames. It was not the right vibe in the classroom, but I had to share that because I was cracking up because all these boys are just at this girl going through the most dramatic thing in her life.
Sad, actually.
It was great.
Oh my gosh.
So those are my choir room happenings. What has been happening in your choir room?
Well, this is more choir life. So I conducted a GMEA this past week. It was awesome. Love getting to know those students. An amazing accompanist, Mason. He did a fantastic job working with the students. So collaborative and so helpful. And he's a teacher as well. So that was awesome.
And they sang the snot out of John the Slacker.
Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah, I was super happy with them. The coordinator, Thomas, he was awesome. And we just became buds for the week, and it was super fun. And yeah, we sang your piece, John the Slacker, and they just went for it. It was actually one of the favorited pieces. We added a in there. We got our backs real straight, like So that was entertaining, and the audience loved that, of course. And they owned it. Really good singers. And I'm always skeptical about sometimes when I hear people say, oh yeah, this choir is going to be very good. Even though it didn't exist up to this point, I was very interested in their process of learning the music, their process in auditioning, to kind of gauge beforehand so I could program music accordingly to their level. And I was so taken back by how prepared they were. They were so prepared. They auditioned on the music. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
For the states out there, I'm just going to throw it out. I think it should be something nationally done. You just audition on the music. And you give them random audition passages that they don't even know that it's coming, but you just randomly audition them on stuff. That is the way to go, because that allows it to be a great experience for one, the students, and two, for the conductor that's coming in. When they don't know the music, the honor choir becomes about learning notes, which is not fun. It's not fun to just learn notes.
It's not fun for the kids either.
Yes. So this allows the students to really engage and learn about nuance and learn about doing fun stuff in music. And it's enjoyable for everyone. So GMEA was cool. The group that's performing at Southwest ACDA at my school, they did a tour to prepare for it, which was great. We worked with Cameron LeBar, amazing director at Missouri State University. He clinicked the choir. Additionally, we sang at some other schools. It's a fun time. You know, the students love engaging with other students too, as far as choral music goes. And then aside from that, I had a group that performed at ICHSA, and somehow, shockingly, they actually got first place. And they're amazing. Not shockingly,
I was gonna say, how does that make the kids feel?
Well, they were shocked too. They really were. There's some videos out there of them they can't believe it. There were some amazing groups. So to put things in perspective, in our quarterfinal is from 2 years ago, the previous international won the whole thing, champion.
In New York, right?
Yes, exactly. The champion. And then last year's Midwest champion, which has the win of extremely competitive division. To put it in perspective, the winner of this past year came from the Midwest, but they didn't necessarily win the Midwest one. So the winner of the Midwest competition was there in our quarterfinal as well. And somehow we got first place. So we were taken back by it. And the kids, they sing well, and they did a really good job with the choreography this year. And so it was an exciting time. I've never really experienced anything like that. Like I've done some cool conferences and various things, but that type of competition gets intense. And when they say your name, you're just like blacking out, and the students were too. They just couldn't believe,
eyes out.
Bawling, crying, and I'm like, imagine if we won like semifinal or international, they would explode. They were like, they wouldn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, so you guys are going forward to the semis in Ohio.
Where's that at? Right outside of Cincinnati.
Okay,
it's like
cool.
I don't know, something.
And that's in March.
March coming up soon.
Like during spring break.
Yo,
that stinks.
Yo, that's right.
But that's so awesome. I know those kids are so pumped and so excited, and they work so hard every day at the end of the day. So congrats to
thanks.
you. Congrats to the kids. I'm super excited. Super, super exciting. Now it's time for our favorite segment. Heck yeah! Dab. So this week, I would like to talk about Yoga Whippy. So Yoga Whippy is YOGOWYPI. I found out about this at a conference session presented by Bethany Main, who you guys will get to know in a couple of weeks on our next episode, because she will be our guest.
She's the funniest person I know.
Yeah, she's great.
Literally.
So Yoga Whippy stands for you only get out what you put in. just like your digestive system. Anyway, Yoga Whippy is something that we have on our board, and we have every single hour on there. So we have first hour, second hour, third hour, fourth hour, sixth hour, seventh hour, and it has all their different sections. So tenor ones, tenor twos, bass ones, bass twos, depending on the class, those sections are different, and everybody gets points. This is the point thing that we were talking about earlier. And so they get points for just, if they stand with great posture, if they sing with great tone.
Blake, let's be honest.
They give them points for having great nostrils.
Any random thing. And it's so funny when we do it like that.
Your right front tooth looks really good today. 1 million points.
We'll say, like, who has the goofiest face?
Yeah.
Or you'll have, when they come up and get music, you'll have them whisper something creepy. Like, just
whoever
funny,
has the best sweet nothing that they say.
Yeah. And then you'll be like 10 million points for saying that. It's really a crazy situation.
Kids will come up, like, when we're passing out music. That way, it's entertaining for us, and also we don't have to get up and move. We just sit, and they come up to us, and they'll be like, I smelled your toes last night. And I'm like, dude, you can't say that. But some kids say, like,
dude, you can't say that.
10 million points.
10 million. There we go.
Whoever, is winning in their section, they will get either pizza or donuts as a section. So that's super fun. It encourages them to want to excel in the classroom. It encourages them to follow instructions. It encourages them to listen, and it encourages them to be quiet. It encourages them to have fun, because we do ridiculous things and we give out, the best dab could get millions of points. We start out each quarter with just like 1 point for the tenor ones. 2 points. This time it's going to be 10 points. They're like, ooh. But then by the end of the quarter, last week, because it's almost the end of the quarter. Last week I said, if you sing your solo in front of the whole class, you get 2 billion points.
It gets out of control sometimes. Yeah, what happens too, it's not good, because it's fine. It's good ultimately, but what'll happen is Blake will, at one, or maybe myself, it's probably myself, I instigate this stuff. I'll say, all right, do this thing. Like, let's say the basses, they actually made a good, really the ideal sound that we were looking for. And I'll say, wow, do that again. And you get 1,000 points, because I really want to emphasize it. And then Blake kind of perks up like, oh, we're going there now. Then he's like, well, 2,000 points next. And then I'm like, 5 billion. And then it gets all shady from there.
We don't do that on purpose. It just happens.
I don't know. Whatever.
So that's my hack of this week. Yoga Whippy. Thanks, Bethany Main, for giving us that idea. It's beautiful. What is your hack?
Simply ask a parent to do it. I know it seems simple, and maybe it seems even incomprehensible to you, but here's what I've noticed. So this past week, I'm kind of burning at many different places at the same time. There's a lot of stuff happening. And so the a cappella group they won their quarterfinal, so now they're going to semifinal. But the problem with going to semifinal, it's 8 hours away, transportation, lodging,
you can't
all this
use
stuff.
School buses because it's in a different state.
Exactly.
Buses.
So just booking that stuff, like simply booking it, I just got to a point where I asked a parent that is very amazing and very gung-ho about everything relating to anything in the choir program, but especially in this choir. I said, could you book that hotel? And she did. It was simple. And then a weight was lifted off. Just ask a parent to do it sometimes. If that works out in your situation, it was just such a relief when that happened.
Shout out to our booster president, Kim.
Oh, you knew. Oh, Kim. Dabbing. So my son, Christian, my youngest son, he's so funny. He was born in 2017 in the year of the dab. So,
you didn't name him Dab Gutierrez.
Dab Gutierrez. So he's just so creative. He comes up with songs sometimes. And he made a song called Dab on Your Dad. So basically I'll be sleeping in the bed, and sometimes he just watches me to watch the moment when my eyes open up. So I'll just watch. And one moment I opened up my eyes, and he stands over me, literally stands over me like he owns me. And he goes, dab on your dad, dab on your dad. You looking like a fool, dab on your dad. And it kind of reminded me of the Pants song from American Idol.
Pants on the ground.
Pants on the ground. You looking like a fool with your pants on the ground. Maybe we watch that at some point.
Can we sing that without having to pay copyright?
Dab on your dad?
No.
This is Christian's song, so yes.
No, the Pants on the ground.
Oh, I don't know.
So now it's time to shout out our next sponsor, the Treble Classroom.
Yes, the Treble Classroom is a website helping music educators find quality resources quickly to create lesson plans more effectively. Dab. Many music teachers find themselves at schools with small budgets and may be one of the only music teachers in their district. The Treble Classroom exists to help bridge the gap and equip teachers with resources to inspire their students.
The website is managed by our good friend and colleague, Taylor Schaefer. Taylor is an award-winning master educator and clinician, so make sure to visit thetrebleclassroom.com where you can get access to various resources for the classroom, including warm-ups, rounds, books, apps, curriculum, and repertoire.
Thank you again to the Treble Classroom for sponsoring this portion of today's episode.
And if you or your company would be interested in sponsoring future episodes for the Choir Guys, please reach out to us on social media or email us at thechoirguyspod@gmail.com.
Thechoirguyspod@gmail.com.
And we're cheap, so yeah, we have a Gmail account.
Good.
Okay, Danny, I'm very excited for this next segment. We posted on our social media accounts that we were going to be doing this. This is our new segment called Fact or Fiction. Danny, you are known to be very intuitive. Like in the past, you've been like, I always get snow days correct. Like I know if we're going to have snow days.
My record has gone down significantly this past year.
It has gone down significantly since we've taught together because you're like, I get these right all the time. And then you've been wrong so many times.
Whoops.
But we're going to give your percentage a raise here, hopefully, with your intuition. I'm going to read different stories. And we're going to see if you think that they are fact or fiction. And these stories come from either a real life choir director
or a fake life choir director.
Chat GPT. So Chat GPT.
I'll know the signs though if it's Chat GPT. Did you edit them though?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
if you edited the
Chat
words,
GPT, what they do is
akin, critical.
Once upon a time at Middleview High School,
I know.
there was a zany choir director named Mr. Singer. And it's like
too much details. Like what
so
is
like
this?
I have edited them. So we are going to do that. Okay, fact or fiction. Here's the story. So I'm in my office and I have two students sort of sneak into my room and sweetly say, "Hey." I'm already skeptical because they're never sweet. So I say, "What?" They say, "We have a surprise for you." And now I'm really suspicious. I say, "Will I like this surprise?" And they say, "I don't know." As one of them lifts their sweatshirt, which I now notice she's been sort of supporting the bottom of her sweatshirt, and out comes a baby kitten. She was hiding a kitten under her sweatshirt. This was during 5th hour, so she made it over half the day with a live cat going to school with her. Fact or fiction?
I wish I had some more context, like what part of America is this in?
I will not be answering that question.
Or what the population of the school is.
I will not be answering that question.
Darn. See, those are key factors in there that would help me with my deductive logic. I'm going to say I could see that happening. Yes. I think it's fact.
It is fact. It is fact.
Yeah. Dap.
Hannah Martin. Shout out to Hannah Martin. That happened, I think, her first year of teaching. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Okay. Here is story number 2. Fact or fiction? So we're in the middle of rehearsing Luke's Arumque by Eric Whitacre. Voices are soaring, spirits are high, when suddenly I hear the unmistakable sound of someone about to hurl. I turn around just in time to see one of our singers turn a lovely shade of green.
This is during a concert or rehearsal?
During a rehearsal. Okay. Yeah, we're in the middle of rehearsing this.
Was it during the climactic part of the song?
I don't.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead. I'm just trying to.
That's not part of the story. Yeah. Before I can even react, he's making a beeline for the trash can. Now, the trash can wasn't even close to being empty. It was filled to the brim. But that was not about to stop him. He lunges for the trash can like a champ and, let's say things got pretty messy real quick. The choir stood there frozen in shock, staring at the kid as he empties his stomach into the trash can. Meanwhile, I'm torn between rushing over to help him and trying not to lose my lunch as well. The student bounced back like a pro, wiped his mouth, and flashed us a confident smile like nothing happened. Him and the custodian cleaned up the mess, and he got back to singing like nothing ever happened. Fact or fiction?
This has happened to me. Not necessarily that specific scenario, but something similar. But I think this is fiction.
It is fiction.
Were you basing that off of my situation?
No, Chat GPT wrote it, and then I kind of.
Did you know about my situation?
About ACDA?
So National ACDA, I had a student, as they're doing a solo, if you were there, good thing you weren't in the front row, so nervous they vomited, caught it in their mouth, swallowed it.
It was a soloist.
Soloist, yeah. Caught it in their mouth, swallowed it, and because I was wondering, why didn't they come in at this part? And then it's because that happened. And then once I found out that afterward, the student was crying. I'm like, oh no, it's okay. Like this stuff like this happens. She's like, you don't understand. It's stuff like this happens. You don't understand. I said, don't worry about it. And then she went, you don't understand. I threw up, caught it in my mouth, swallowed it.
Then
and then she came back in, and I went, you might be the most amazing person I've ever met. Not that I'm teaching students like, when you throw up, catch it in your mouth and swallow it. This is not like a strategy or form or something.
That should be a song.
The mere fact that she did it just shows like grit and determination. People are like, oh, this generation, they're blah, blah, blah. This girl just like threw up, caught it in her mouth, swallowed it because she didn't want to distract from the performance, and then came in like a boss. Amazing.
At National ACDA.
In front of
stage.
2,000 people. It was crazy.
Okay, last one. Fact or fiction? My co-teacher and I were enjoying a very chill day at the end of the year. Our spring concert had already happened and there wasn't much to do. Our men's choir boys asked if they could walk down the street to get some fast food, which is a common reward after a concert. We consulted with each other and decided it would be fine. I was working in the auditorium cleaning up from the concert, and the other teacher was in the classroom just watching the students. When I came back into the room, I was flabbergasted to find it completely empty, but my co-teacher was still in our office.
Flabbergasted.
I walked in and was like, where are our students? He looked at me with panic, and I realized that we each thought the other teacher had taken the boys to get fast food. In reality, they left the building and were just wandering around town unsupervised. We totally freaked out. We jumped in the car and we started driving toward the restaurant. We caught up in just a couple minutes and found them safe and happy about halfway through the walk. Now that we felt good about everything, we decided to roll down the car windows, pump up some music, and the boys started dancing around the car as we drove slowly for the last bit of the walk. And right as we came around the corner, a school police officer was sitting right by the road. Luckily, he just waved us on and we both kept our jobs. Fact or fiction?
Tricky, because whoever this is, they revealed at the end that they were concerned about keeping their jobs, but at the same time, they're revealing this story, but it's done anonymously, so there is that level to it. There's a lot of fun stuff about it. I could see this happening, although it seems kind of like a bit much. Ugh. And also,
fact or fiction?
The biggest thing is I said fact, fiction, and then I feel like it should go back to fact. I'm going to do like an A-B situation. So I'm going to go, this is very intricate. I feel like you would be that person to make it intricate. Fiction.
It was fact!
Oh,
yes!
no.
I added in some extra terms like flabbergasted.
When you said flabbergasted, if you said the word akin, I would be like, no, you got me.
This was our good pal Amy Brammer.
Oh, wow.
And her co-teacher, Connor Gately. They said I could say their names because they laugh about the story now. But that was Connor's first year of teaching.
Oh, that happens. Wow, that's a crazy story.
And he still has his job. So it's
surprising.
Good.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. I love that story. Okay, so this week we got some shout outs from some friends, and we also got some questions that were sent to our social media. So we're going to take some time to talk about those. First of all, we got a shout out from our good middle school director, our good pal, Spencer Fleury, first year of teaching. He said, for what it's worth, I would love to be a member of you and Danny's cult church. And that was one of the nicest things that's ever been told to us. Thank you. We will let you know what that church is called and if we ever start it. And then we got a question from one of your former students, actually. It's Carmen Willis. And she said, first of all, your first podcast was awesome. I enjoyed watching it. But she had a quick question/suggestion that she's run into during her student teaching. So she has a very low experience 12-person beginning choir that is mostly tenors and basses that do not sing in tune most days. It's a struggle to even get them to sing out at all. So when they do sing and it's out of tune, it feels aggressive, overbearing. Any suggestions for fixing intonation for a whole group without discouraging them? Thank you. What do you think?
I think simplify the process. So how attainable can you make this for them? How can you simplify it so you can address the things that actually matter? When you're doing music that has parts, you tend to get fixated on accuracy and singing the right parts at the right time. Really, it's a beginning tenor bass choir. That process needs to be simplified. So tenor bass in and of itself is not a simple thing, especially if you're talking middle level or high school level. So if it were me, if I had 12 people and it was beginning and they're not singing in tune, they feel aggressive, overbearing, I'm doing unison music. Give me a folk song, let them sing a heck out of a folk song, and then isolate technique, just as you would in a voice lesson. It's the same exact concept. And you'll hear it if not everyone's on the same page and doing something drastically different. That's the easiest way to get them from point A to point B.
Yeah, and I would say when it comes to tenor bass choirs, we've noticed that they are willing to sing in front of each other by themselves all the time. So like getting them, find a rock star that's in your group that's going to sing by themselves right away, and do lots of spot checking, having them sing by themselves, or maybe go row by row just to see who's singing in tune and who's not. Also recording them often and playing it back to show them progress, first of all, and to also, sometimes they don't know that they're singing super out of tune. So just recording it on your phone and then playing it back for them helps a lot. Then in our classroom, we have the Dale Duncan bullseye. Mm-hmm. And so on one of our doors that's facing all the kids, we have a bullseye, and we always try to get kids to meet in the middle of the bullseye pitch wise. So like we'll visually be able to show them like, okay, you're down here at the bottom of the bullseye. We need you to come up here just a little bit. And so sometimes what we'll do is if we're like, please sing right here, and they're like, right here, what would you do in that situation? Let's demonstrate it. So if you say, sing right here, and you go really low.
No, I did it the same pitch.
Sing right here. I can't go that low though. I was gonna say match their pitch. Okay. Sing right here.
Ooh.
Can you sing that? Ooh.
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 And you just keep going until they get all the way up there and try to help them out with that. Yeah. Just trying to meet them where they are and try to bring them up to sing them, or to have them sing in tune. That happened with my 7th and 8th grade tenor bass choir at the beginning of this year. It got to a point where like there was probably about 30 of them singing in tune, but the other 10 or so were not. By the end of like the first week of doing some of that adjusting, they were all at least able to match my pitch if I brought them up. It still wasn't perfect. And after weeks and weeks of doing the same warm-ups and having them sing those in unison, that really, really, really helps with just matching pitch and singing in tune.
Something else to add on to that. So a lot of the time they can mentally process the pitch. They just can't physically make it happen in their voices. So sometimes a little bit of a hack, not a hack, but just a general technical thing that I would do. So I'll hear a lot of like, do, re, mi, fa, sol. I'll tell them just a little bit of an adjustment in their tone. They're doing it more like straight speaking, and speaking is fine, but it needs a little bit of adjustment in singing. So a little more fluff in the sound, a little more Miss Doubtfire. I call it Wanda. There's a lot of different terms for that. Instead of do, re, mi. Most people can actually do that and just apply that to singing, and that works so well most of the time.
Yeah. So we hope that helps. We did have another question from Laura Clausen from Olathe, Kansas. She said, I programmed your arrangement of John the Slacker. Thank you. Which is good for the repetitive nature and solo features. I'm looking for a slower legato line tenor or TBB selection that doesn't go higher than an E for tenors and nothing below a C or a B for basses. Do you have any song suggestions that would fit the bill for a beginning level tenor bass group? I am aiming to give these guys the best musical experience I possibly can. So when it comes to tenor bass groups, we always like to program lots of Laura Farnell and Dan Davison pieces. They write so well for middle school and beginner level tenor bass choirs. However, when it comes to not going above an E for tenors and not going below a C or a B for the basses, they do a good job of not necessarily going lower than a C or a B for basses for the most part. But those tenors, especially like middle school tenors, most of them can get up there, so they don't always write super well. Honestly, I just programmed my first TBB arrangement this semester because most of the stuff that I do is either just TB or TTB. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Do you want to go into kind of what we talked about yesterday?
Well, just that particular voicing is very, very hard to come by.
Yeah.
I mean, tenor, first off, tenor, bass, there's not a lot of those that exist. It's mostly TTB. And then not above an E. Well, the hard thing is to plan that type of voicing. You're taking into consideration many different levels, right? And most compositions like that, they're going above E because it kind of shows off a lot of the cambiata voice. So that's a really complicated arrangement. I would, especially under those parameters, I would say exactly what Blake said. Look at Farnell, look at Dan Davison. Check out and if you have something out there, if you have something that's good, please let us know about it.
Yeah,
like
please.
We would love to.
We don't know everything.
I want to see that type of arrangement too. Let's see it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you can program like a Dan Davison piece, and you can kind of, I mean, Dan isn't going to have any issues. He taught middle school. He's not going to have any issues if you rewrite the parts just a little bit and kind of revoice it a little bit to make it work for your kids. Because at least my general rule is when it comes to middle school boys, there are no rules. Like, just do what you need to do to keep them singing. So I guarantee you Dan's not going to have an issue with that, or Laura as well, or pretty much anybody. The right thing to do is to reach out to the composer or arranger and ask them if you can do that. But again, most of the time they're going to be okay with it just because they want your kids to be singing their piece. Yeah. So that's what I would say about that. Now it's time for our rep shoutouts of the week. Danny, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Flying Solo, Philip Sylvie. I just programmed that for GMEA. Love the piece. TTB. It's kind of a complicated accompaniment, right? So that's the one side of it. The accompaniment is about 20 times harder than singing it is. But I love the way it's designed. Really simple rhythms, if you think about it. Simple, really mindful of range as well. And it sounds amazing. So many opportunities for dynamics, not overly taxing time-wise to really dissect the song, although it sounds very complicated. It is not, although it is complicated for the accompanist for sure. But it's just something easy to program if you have the accompanist to do it, flying solo.
Nice. And I'm going to suggest Where the Light Begins by Susan LaBar. We love Susan. She lives down the road from us. It sounds ridiculous. I've programmed this 5 times in the last 3 years.
Oh, wow.
I've done it 3 times with some of my ensembles at my school. And then I've done it with 2 honor choirs. I just love it so much. There's a simple accompaniment as opposed to your difficult accompaniment. Beautiful melodies, pop-like rhythms, and opportunities for discussions regarding dynamic contrast. There's an SSA voicing and an SATB voicing. I've done both of them, and they're both gorgeous. As you know, Susan writes such incredible stuff. And she was raised on contemporary Christian music and worship type music, and so was I. And so I think that's why a lot of her pieces kind of resonate with me, because some of her accompaniments kind of remind me of I'm in a church service, in a contemporary worship service, and I think that's why it resonates with me. So if you also were raised like that, it might hit you as well in those ways. So Where the Light Begins, Susan LaBar. It's amazing. Another new segment. It's this is our second episode and we're just trying new things. Attitude of gratitude.
Gratitude.
What are you thankful for this week? Professionally, personally, what are you thankful for?
Personally, I'm thankful for smelling and tasting. We won't get into the exact reasons why, but let's say specifically smelling and tasting. I'm thankful for colleagues.
Sickness.
Yes,
that's why.
I'm thankful for colleagues that got my back when I'm sick. Really have been so helpful in just transporting my biological children back and forth when I needed help, and just being there, helping support the classroom in every way they possibly can. Also grateful for helpful parents. I'm so grateful to have parents that are just committed to building this incredible choral environment. And without a community, it's impossible to do so. So grateful for a lot of things. How about you, Blake?
Yeah, for this first week of doing this, I just really wanted to shout out my colleagues as well, because you and I have both had to be gone a lot recently. I, was gone for some honor choir stuff, and we've been gone for conferences, gone for some other things personally, and I will just, especially some of the ones that were last minute, I would just call up you, I would call up Lauren, my co-teacher, and I would call up our accompanist, Rachel Johnson, and just say, hey, I cannot come in tomorrow for some personal reasons. And they'd be like, sweet, we got it covered. You don't even have to write subplans. We've got it. And so subplans, as you know, as a teacher, are the worst thing ever. And so when you don't have to write them and you don't have to worry about them and you just get to focus on what you need to focus on, whether you're sick, whether you need to work on something personally, whether something's going on with your family, like it's so helpful. So I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for Lauren. I'm thankful for Rachel. I'm thankful for my other accompanist, Peggy. It's just been amazing to have such great help this year. Thankful for my colleagues.
Got you.
Well, that wraps up this week's episode of The Choir Guys. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube to The Choir Guys channel so you can know when new episodes are coming out. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Once again, The Choir Guys is brought to you by Endeavor Music Publishing. Make sure to browse their website before programming music for your next concert.
You can follow the show on all social media at The Choir Guys Pod to catch bonus content throughout the week. Feel free to message us through these platforms if you want to hear us talk about anything specific on the show, like people did this week.
Also, tune in next time for our first episode with a special guest. We will be discussing all things elementary choirs with Kansas' very own Bethany Main.
Woo! Thank you so much for watching once again, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
And subscribe. Subscribe. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Subscribe it, and a sub it, and a sub it, a scribe it, a sub it, and a scribe it, and a cha. Thank you.
Chat.